Well, welcome everyone. If you want to take your seats, we'll get started. We've had some slight technical difficulties, so we're a little late and sorry about that, but we're delighted you're here. We'll give you a minute to get seated. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight. I am thrilled to welcome you to the 2025 State of the City Mayoral Address. We're welcoming both those who are here in the room with us and those watching on YouTube. The State of the City is an annual tradition where the mayor shares our progress and talks about the year ahead. And before we get started, I want to acknowledge and thank our regional elected officials who are attending tonight. With us are Suds Jane, council member from City of Santa Clara. We have Alex Kobayashi, who is representing State Senator Josh Becker. Kevin Fong, representing the office of Assemblymember Mark Berman. Gisela Corona Torres, representing Representative Liccardo's office. And our own former mayor, Karen Holman, who is with the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District. Thank you so much for being here. I'm also very pleased to acknowledge my council colleagues, all of whom are here tonight. So with us are Councilmember Burt, Councilmember Lithcott-Hames, Councilmember Reckdahl, Councilmember Liu, and Councilmember Stone. So please a round of applause for all of them. And of course, a big thank you to our host, Rivian. We are very grateful to be here on your Palo Alto campus. I expect that the mayor will tell us why he picked this venue in his remarks, but note that Ed is from Chicago, Illinois, and I think it's because Rivian's manufacturing plant is in Normal, Illinois. We Midwesterners have trouble shaking our roots, and I may be the only person in the room that's actually been to Normal, Illinois. So if you all want to know about Normal, the city that is, see me at the reception. Now, I am delighted to introduce Derek Mulvey, the Vice President Finance of Rivian, to share a few remarks.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming. What a great turnout. And thank you to the mayor, the vice mayor, and the council members, as well as the community for hosting this event at Rivian. We're really excited to have you. I'll spend just a couple minutes on Rivian and what we do here, and then turn it back over to the vice mayor for the next session here. But at Rivian, we develop, design, and manufacture electric vehicles, and importantly, the technology that goes into those vehicles. We're headquartered here in California. We have a lot of presence in Southern and Northern California. Most of our offices are out here. We've got our manufacturing facility in Normal, Illinois, and a second manufacturing facility going up in Georgia later this decade. We also have a variety of service centers and spaces and charging stalls around North America, including the US and Canada. And specifically in California, we employ over 4,000 people. We've got over 16,000 vehicles registered here. And we've got a countless number of service center spaces and charging stations being built up in the state, including a space opening up later this year right in Palo Alto. As I mentioned, we operate in two kind of spaces, right? So we have the consumer space where we operate in our R1T. We produce the R1T and the R1S. That's an electric pickup truck and an electric SUV. And later in the first half of 2026, we'll be launching our R2, which is a 5-passenger, lower cost, more mass market SUV. On the commercial side, we partner with Amazon and developed a class-leading electric delivery van, which now there are over 25,000 of those on the road, over 800 cities around the country, making deliveries to customers across the country. Importantly, though, across all that, like I mentioned, we're just developing and designing the technology that goes into these vehicles. That technology includes the software, and that's anywhere from the screen that you touch to make something happen in your car, all the way to the deeply integrated software that's associated with the battery pack, the propulsion system, or even your headlights. We also develop the electrical control units or the actual boards which the software operates on. And finally, we develop the autonomy features that go into the vehicle and progress our vehicles through autonomous features over time. Most of that technology being developed and all the leaders of those technology groups are based right here in Palo Alto in Northern California. All three of the leads are based in this office and all their teams are majority stacked here. And those teams are evolving and growing as we, at the end of last year, announced a partnership with Volkswagen, where they contributed about 5.8 billion of capital to Rivian, and we're going to help them develop and design the software and electrical hardware for their future vehicles. When we think about the area that we're in and kind of how we interact with the community, Palo Alto is a great location for what we do. And a big part of that is we're surrounded by companies looking to innovate. We're surrounded by people wanting to join the team who want to innovate and be entrepreneurial. And that's exactly what we need to develop the vehicles we're developing. We believe the end state of automotive is electrification. It's right for the planet, it's right for performance, and it's right for a variety of other reasons. To do that, we need to make the vehicles compelling, and technology is a huge part of that. If you look at our surveys, a top 3 reason across every survey why people purchase our vehicles is the technology we're developing, and that's in our vehicles. And so the more we can advance that, the more we can entice people into electrification. And at the end of the day, the better it is for the planet. When my wife and I moved out here 4 years ago to join Rivian, we moved out from New York, and a big reason we did that was to try to make an impact that would last through our kids, their kids, and their kids, and all the way down the line in the generation. One of my favorite things is my son, he's 2 years old, and if he sees a Rivian, whether it's in our garage or here in the parking lot or walking around Palo Alto, he'll tell anyone that's Dad's car. And it's awesome. And so if you drive a Rivian and see him, he'll explain to you that that's not your car, that's my car. But I think the really cool part of that is, I remember when I was purchasing my first car with my parents when I was 16, there were no electric vehicles in the lot. It wasn't an option. And to think that when my son turns 16 someday, and hopefully electrification is the baseline, and hopefully he wants a Rivian and calls it a Rivian, not Dad's car, it's a really exciting future for us. So again, huge thanks to everyone here. I hope you feel the energy and the excitement that we have at Rivian for what we're doing. Appreciate you all coming out here. Hope you do more often. And thank you again to the council members, the mayor, and the vice mayor. And with that, I'll pass it back to the vice mayor for the next session. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Well, Derek, I can assure you that the city of Palo Alto believes in electrification as well. And I think it's not just the energy we feel in the room, but the electricity. So a note to those who are here with us live. Please join us following the conclusion of the mayor's address for a reception back at Base Camp, which is out near where you came in at the entrance area. And also, should you be interested, please find a Rivian staff member and you can have a demo ride on a Rivian vehicle. And now it's my honor to introduce our mayor, Ed Lowing. It is also my honor every day to collaborate with Mayor Lowing as vice mayor this year. At an event recently, I was speaking with Mayor Lowing when a former mayor stopped by, and there's a lot of them around Palo Alto, so that doesn't narrow it down much. This former mayor looked at us and said, "You make a good team." And I agree, and I hope you do too. And perhaps it depends on how well this introduction goes. So let me share a little bit about our mayor. Ed is a 30-plus year resident of Palo Alto with 3 children who attended Walter Hayes, Green Middle School, Castanea High School, and Palo Alto High School. Prior to serving on council, Mayor Lowing served the city for 13 years on the Parks and Recreation Commission and the Planning and Transportation Commission, bodies that he served as chair 5 times. From leading those commissions to serving as the Housing Element Working Group co-chair to coaching and supporting Little League Baseball, Ed knows Palo Alto. He is passionate about our community's needs and a thoughtful and engaging leader. And despite Mayor Lowing's years as CEO of several companies and service on public boards, he somehow manages to take the work seriously, but not take himself too seriously. After being selected as mayor, Ed got right to work and has already started some new initiatives that I hope he will describe tonight. It's a pleasure to serve beside Mayor Lowing. In fact, he and I have already caused a little bit of trouble together. Last night, the council passed unanimously a resolution that grew out of a colleague's memo that he and I brought forward to address the biggest issue of our day, what our city will do in the face of the disconcerting actions coming out of the federal government. In sum, we are lucky to have Ed Lowing as mayor of Palo Alto. So let's all give a warm welcome to Mayor Ed Lowing.
I just told her she passed. I'm going to keep her. Okay, I hope this sound holds up because the sound for the movie didn't, which is what's caused all the delay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I enjoy our camaraderie and our collaboration. And it's been a good year so far. I want to also, thank all of you for being here, or as the Vice Mayor said, on YouTube, out in YouTube land. Thanks very much, Derek, for your introduction, which was very energetic, and a description of everything you are doing here, which plays right into the opening of why we're here. And of course, my colleagues, who I work with 7 days a week, something like that. But I do want to address why we're here, because I've had a lot of questions about that. What are you doing the State of City dress up here? And there's actually a lot of reasons. And the first off was covered very well by Derek, because Rivian's mission of sustainability that they're maniacally focused on is a direct match with one of our very top priorities, where we have, I think, a leadership in the state and nationally. And it's one of our key priorities last year, this year, and obviously going forward. Next is that Rivian is a Palo Alto-based company that is just committed to relentless technical innovation. Now, the electric car was created years before Rivian first shipped their EV, but Rivian wanted to be the best EV in the future, not the first EV of the past. That sounds a lot like Palo Alto to me, because Palo Alto is a great place to live and work and shop and play and go to school. And that isn't enough. We're always looking to be more innovative going forward and to make our place in Palo Alto even better. So I like that matchup. The other thing is I simply wanted to be out of City Hall, out here in a neighborhood like Barron Park. And I want to underscore that our success as a city is completely based on the partnership that we have with residents and businesses. I learned just yesterday from Barron Park resident Art Lieberman, who's sitting here in the audience tonight, that this building was the first ever building in the Stanford Research Park, built in 1947 and occupied originally by Varian. So way back then was the first technology footprint. Can you imagine how much innovation has happened right here in the space that we're sitting or standing right now? And I learned just this morning from Rivian's CEO in a morning meeting that Stanford wasn't too sure that this was going to work out, the Stanford Research Park, and the risk of having technology companies here looked pretty severe. So the backup plan, hence the architecture, was for an elementary school. So back then they were even taking risks, but they also had backup plans. We do some of that too in the city. And lastly, as I've spilled the beans and the chief spilled the beans out in front, we are now a customer of Rivian, and we have just taken delivery of the first ever electronic vehicle Rivian that has been shipped. They haven't sent it to any other municipality, and it's built here, and well, it's built here, but it's headquartered here, and its home is going to be here. So I just think that's absolutely terrific. So that's some of the reasons of why we're here tonight in this setting. And oh, by the way, I'm still negotiating with Rivian for a 50% discount on the new car that's coming out, the cheaper one, in March, April. You know how product cycles go. You might get it or might not. And I'm actually really generally very good at negotiation, but I'm failing. As late as today around lunchtime, I'm failing with the CEO. And their counter is any one of us here can give them $150. They'll reserve a spot in March on their waiting list. So I'm not doing well, but I'm not done. All right. So I'm gonna get back on that. So tonight, as is traditional, we want to take you through the status report on the state of the city, reviewing progress to date on our 4 major priority areas for 2025. In our strategy retreat back in January, council decided to revise the 24 items and update them, but otherwise move forward with them again because the areas we are prioritizing obviously simply can't be completed in 1 year. So after that, I'm going to comment on what we're doing this year to advance those priorities, mention some of the big projects, as well as some of the everyday results that the city produces for you every day. And then finally, I want to highlight ways that I believe we need to approach our work this year, given the economic and political environment we're in. So let's get started. As you know, Monday night council meetings take about 6 hours. Last night was no exception. 6 hours. We got right out before the stroke of midnight. And we usually take on a couple 3 issues. So I did a calculation of how much time it would take to go through all 4 of these in depth. And I say between midnight and 2 a.m., we're going to get to the food. Now, I didn't think I'd get anybody to second that motion in this audience. So I'm kind of giving you the executive summary tonight with a little bit of emphasis on public safety and housing. So we have the 4 priorities up there. And I want to start with public safety. I strongly believe that public safety is the fundamental obligation of local government. Bottom line, the city's main job is to keep our residents and visitors safe. Without that, your quality of life is compromised or worse. So to demonstrate that priority, I asked our 3 chiefs to sit right up here with me tonight. We put our trust in the 3 outstanding chiefs that we have in the city that we're blessed to have. And I'm going to name them Police Chief Andrew Binder, Office of Emergency Services, which we call OES, Chief Ken Duker, and Fire Chief Geo Blackshire, who unfortunately is out of town tonight, but is capably represented by Deputy Chief Kevin McNally. Here's where that kind of public safety starts and stops. So we put together a short video to show you what it takes, a lot of work, for a recruit to earn a badge in our police or fire department. We have 16 new officers. That's what they have to go through, and you can see that they are risking their safety for our safety. Chiefs, would you please stand? Thank you, gentlemen, for all you and your staff does for the city of Palo Alto. Thank you very much. I went to both of those pinning ceremonies to see the recruits, and I want to go to everyone else that I can possibly go to in the future. 16 new officers. It's just phenomenal to see the generations that follow generations, including Chief Blackshire's son, who was pinned this year as a new fire person. So to protect you, what have we done? Well, we've invested 120. Our city budget in 2025 is 112 million in fire and police and emergency services, which is 37% of the city's operating expenses dedicated to public safety. The 2025 budget is actually 48% higher than 2020 for fire, and about 25% higher than 2020 and 64% higher for police. So by any stretch, I think we are investing in those areas. And President Biden famously said about local government, show me your budget and I will show you your city's values. I think our budget clearly shows that public safety is a core value for Palo Alto. The recent investments that we've made support dispatch, traffic enforcement, police leadership, and additional firefighter staffing. And we're proud to invest in those areas. So here's some of the specifics. We've enhanced police and fire staffing, as I mentioned. We added back a 3-person traffic team. Chief Bender has at certain forums said honestly to citizens, you've asked us to put more police on to catch speeders, and running of stop signs. If we pull you over, don't complain. And we're staffed up in that area. And I can tell you it is happening right now. So the license plate reader system, which council approved, is literally catching more criminals when that license plate number is caught on camera leaving town, and we've solved crimes by following up with the database to do that. We can also even prevent new crimes from happening, because when a car that's been flagged as being active in criminal activity comes into town, it's identified, we're alerted, and we can get somebody to actually follow that car. Extraordinarily successful program requested by the chief and accepted by the council. And then we also have the PERT program in place, which is where an officer and a mental health professional are in the field together. There's one crew on staff right now, and there's another one in the budget, because they know and we know that some of these cases that they have to go on are situations of mental health issues with the folks that they're going out and run into in the situation that they're in, which is dangerous. And having someone who's trained in a different area than sort of pure police work is very helpful. So another add in that regard. Next. And the other thing about public safety is it's not just police and fire and emergency services. Mental health matters in terms of being safe for our adults and youth. We increased funding last year for mental health support and having more events for connection. Teen services and support continue. There are even more proposals on the table, including one last night, to move forward with addressing teens much more specifically. And then some of our nonprofit partners, such as CARA and Alcove, offer services and event as well. And we've included that this year in the priority very specifically. So what more can we do? Well, first of all, we're happy to have 7 police officers new and 9 firefighters hired and trained. That said, Any chief will tell you that that's when they enter. That's not when they do 100% of their job. And it varies between like 12 and 18 months in police and fire in terms of when they can be fully up to speed. And, but we're getting there. And the important point is to get them in and get them trained and have a good graduating class, which we do. We're very successful. We want to continue to meet or exceed industry standard response times for both, fire, ambulance, and police service times. We're looking at expanding ambulance coverage. A high proportion of the calls that the fire department goes out on are medical calls. So we can sort of help more people quicker by actually accelerating that depth and the frequency of ambulance service. It's very important that we build on our success and keep fire and police compensation very competitive with our regional cities. We've done that with great success. The turnover rate in both departments has gone down precipitously, not just because of that, but that has been a material contributor to our success there. And then we're experimenting with other things. Chief Bender is going to try out some police on bikes as well as walking in areas that are a little bit hard to get, such as California Avenue at nighttime after 9 o'clock and the restaurants close, and show that police presence, which is also community building, not just public safety. And of course, get our Rivian Cruiser in service. We have to sign up for ride-along rides with that on the way out the door. So your city is basically in very capable hands with the actions that have been taken and the investments made, and with these 3 chiefs and their expanded staff in place. Next. Next up is housing implementation. As you see on the slide, this year has been a major shift in the housing objective, not to plan for housing, but to implement housing. So, like a dedicated sports team, the city's plan for housing development and come up with a detailed game plan. Some people refer to that as the housing element, a required document by the state. And with the unfunded mandate from the state to plan and zone for 686 new homes in 8 years, our commissions and staff and council have literally invested years in this plan. I spent years on it in 3 different capacities. It took that long to get it done. And now we have to put the game plan to work in the field and put some points on the board called homes. I want to point out that this plan does not, quote, Manhattanize Palo Alto in order to reduce apartment rents, as the San Francisco Chronicle once wrote in a very long editorial piece. We're not putting up skyscrapers everywhere. We don't need to, because we have enough zoning changes in our housing element to make it happen, even at the number that we have from the state, if we have enough time. And the theory that putting up thousands of new housing units lowers rents does not really work in a super high demand area like Palo Alto, since thousands are so motivated to live here. At a recent community meeting on the Builder's Remedy skyscraper project on Middlefield and Willow, just outside our doors in Palo Alto, one public commenter said that if that approach really lowered prices, Manhattan itself would be a bargain, which is, I think, very sound comment, and because clearly it's not. So let's look at some of the best plays in the playbook for us to get housing. We've done a complete rezoning, as you all know, of the San Antonio corridor to create a full amenity San Antonio neighborhood. Those words are very, I spent a lot of time being specific about those words. We're going to be building in a new area. It's going to look like a neighborhood when we're done, with full amenities like any other neighborhood. And that means open space and a variety of housing types and pedestrian and bicycle traffic and so on. We've also updated zoning along El Camino Real, supporting more housing with a bit more height and density. We're targeting within this housing element in our game plan a range of housing types from studios to 3-bedroom apartments, because we want to meet broad needs of our existing population as they come to town and get more affluent and eventually, maybe wind it down. And we also want a variety of options for new residents that come to our town. So it's really important that we have different housing types that are targeted. And as you would expect, we have a heavy emphasis on deed-restricted affordable housing. And the deed restriction is critical because that's the only way we can guarantee that it's going to get and remain affordable. So the city doesn't build housing, developers do. We're never going to build housing. We're not going to be landlords. And so we want developers to come and build. That's the whole point of all the work that we did in the housing element with zoning changes. And so far, the interest is from developers is pretty encouraging. Our pipeline number right now is 2,232 units, of which 403 of those are affordable. And remember, we're just at the early in the first quarter, to stay with my football analogy, of since the housing element has been approved and we have these things in place and developers are looking at them and considering it and raising money and doing designs and so on, we're still very much at the head end of all that we need to do. Also, as I was looking for the affordable number. I guess it's on the next slide. There's 208 units under construction and home keys, 88 interim housing units from between homeless to getting placed. Another huge aspect of growth in our community. And then I'm looking sideways here. The city received 136 new accessory dwelling unit applications, ADUs, and issued 124 permits. So it's an important part of the housing mix, and we want it to actually become even more important. So more from the housing playbook. We're going to update the city's ADU ordinance again, as we promised to do when we submitted our housing element, and we want to make it even more available to more people. We're going to build affordable housing we're looking at building affordable housing on parking lot T through public nonprofit partnerships with folks like Eden Housing. The rumor sometimes on the street is we're going to take out all parking lots and put up housing on there. That's a rumor. That's not a fact. We're focused on one right now. Could it expand? Yes. I've never heard a council member or a city staff member saying we're going to close all the parking lots. So let's dispel that rumor. We're going to adopt a downtown housing plan and finalize regulation on alternative housing structures and continue to just look at every option to incentivize developers to do housing. So Palo Alto has long been a leader in producing affordable housing within the region. We actually have the second highest inventory of affordable housing within Santa Clara County as a percentage of total housing. And we've also in the past invested in a lot of affordable housing. A total of $52 million in our history has gone from our coffers to help incentivize affordable housing units. That's including $20 million to support affordable housing at Wilton Court, just a few blocks from here, as it says. And we've just approved another $5 million to go to charities housing just in the last few weeks. So we're very serious about this, but we have a problem. There's not enough money. So what else do we need? each affordable housing unit is by definition less revenue. And so that makes it more difficult for a developer to decide to do that here as opposed to spend their money somewhere else or do nothing at all. Specialized agencies like Eden Housing use tax credits and some other creative stuff, but they still need help as they did with Wilton Court for a little bit more money from us. So we really need to bridge this gap through a larger scale funding options. And so we're now committed to exploring options this year. We confirmed that actually last night at the council meeting about 11 o'clock maybe. And we added that to the staff's work plan. So what could this be? This could be a local or regional bond measure or both. It could be a private-public partnership of concerned citizens and companies who want lower income folks who work here to also live here as our neighbors. So the problem is our housing element documents the housing sites needed. We found the sites. Our new zoning gives us the tools that developers need. Developers have some interest, but the missing ingredient now is serious funding for the affordable units that are most needed in our city. And they're most needed because that's who we want to house. They're not most needed because that's what our arena allocation tells us to do. These are the ones that we really need. So I am overall optimistic that the many changes we made to our city's code will result in significant more housing over time. I say over time because of the obvious barriers that housing developers need to overcome right now. High interest rates, skyrocketing cost of labor and materials in construction, and the current turmoil in our federal government causing economic uncertainty. I mean, because of this, among other things, I like to see our state government kind of grasp the new reality and reset the timing deadline by 2 to 4 years for the homes which cities have been assigned in their RENA quotas. And I'd like to see a large regional affordable housing bond from the legislature. I actually talked to Senator Becker last Thursday on both of these issues. And he's reasonably optimistic that the legislature, with cooperation, can get an affordable housing bond measure on the ballot for voters. And he's personally supportive of extending the time for construction for our housing quotas. So let's hope he can get colleagues on board to get bills passed on these two issues. But over time, I'd certainly remain optimistic. So let's shift now to climate. It's another area in which on March 18th of 2025 here, we're not getting a lot of help from the feds. In fact, they're sort of pushing the other direction, trying to stop California's EV program and being uninterested in it and pulling out of the Paris peace talks and you name it. So cities can lead here, and we have. We're actually a national leader in sustainability, both planning and actions. So our major goal is stated right there at the top. We just refer to it as 80 by 30 against the base year of 1990. It's a challenging goal and one that we've actually made good progress on. If you look at the second bullet point there, data is from 2022, so we're a little bit behind. But in 2022, there was a 47.4% decrease in community emissions here. And that's about halfway to the goal. It's also about halfway, really midway through the initial SCAP cycle. So we're in pretty good shape there. And all of this was done while increasing our population in Palo Alto by 21% in that time frame. So this is doable, folks. And it's good progress. And now we'll talk about what more do we need to do. So here's just a few simple facts. 540 residents installed a heat pump water heater through city programs. Here's one right here. Here's one. Yeah. I offered to be on the website as an advertisement. It works great. And the city's helping fund it, and I wanted to test out the program, so we're doing it monthly and don't even notice that I'm paying for it. That's good. This is a really remarkable stat. 17 multifamily properties have installed 263 EV charging. This has been tougher to get the multifamilies operative, and it's starting to work now. They get it. And it's starting to become a marketing tool for them as well. 140 EV chargers are now publicly available at our own garages. And also, interestingly, we now have some affordable housing that's putting up EVs. 65-unit park at Arastradero Park. And that's just remarkable. That's just fantastic. Great progress. Next slide. And of course, we have to do more, but another good stat here is that we're putting in 65,000 residential advanced metering infrastructure, which has got all kinds of benefits, even in the administration of the data by our staff, but also by all of us that are looking at our meters. We're doing modernization of the grid to improve the reliability and resiliency and to enable electrification. That's a multi-year project, but the pilot has gone quite well. It's not quite finished, but it's gone quite well. And we also know that home electrification needs incentives. And that's going to be a really important set of programs that we put together and help finance. So we get sort of lower income folks that can do that, not to mention just incentivize people that even if they can afford it, they don't want to spend $20,000 when their furnace goes out. But again, really, really good progress. And then this good old thing, I promised myself I wouldn't use any acronyms, but I have to use VMT, which is vehicle miles traveled. And when you look at it, that just means, bike or walk or skip a couple trips or go with a friend. It's one of the best climate action tactics of all, and it's free. In fact, it saves money. So for all of the above issues here, we still just really need to keep our foot on the electric vehicle accelerator. We just got to keep doing this, but good progress. Moving to economic development and retail vibrancy. I want to first talk about the retail status. With, next slide. The Parklet program that we put into place during the pandemic worked phenomenally well, and restaurants came back very strong. Our restaurateurs today are very happy, and now we just are moving towards permanent programs, which will spiff up some of those parklets and continue to draw people to the area, which we think feeds the retailers, just as the retailers who bring people there then go and eat. So it's very symbiotic, and that part is working pretty well. Clearly, there's still retail vacancies on Cal Ave and a little bit more even on University Ave. Stanford and Town and Country, trying to find a parking space. They're booming. They're doing really well. Auto dealers, you may not know this, but auto dealers are really an important group of source of revenue as a group because of their sales tax on, and leasing on very high ticket items, cars. And this year, so far, that's been trending downward. So we're very focused on that issue and will be throughout the year, not just at budget time. Is this a blip or is it a trend? We don't know yet, but we're watching that very closely. And in terms of accomplishments, on March 10th, Council took action that is a full launch of California Avenue's permanent closure. And so signage is going up, branding is going to come soon, and those parklets are underway. Very significant. I mean, it required changes to the comprehensive plan, but we're committed to having that closed and spruced up. That's gone way too slowly, but now it can move fast because we've got permanent decisions in place and we've been working on it for the last, well, 2 years, really. We're also advancing what's called the University Avenue streetscape. And the local businesses there, the local landlords there are very enthusiastic about doing a big spruce up. And the $40 million price tag that you read about in the papers is not a city budget item. At this point, the landlords are very enthusiastic and are looking to do an assessment district and fund much of that themselves. The devil's in the details as we go forward, but that's what's on the table at this point. We've done pretty high engagement with the Midtown retailers and some sprucing up. There's more need to be done there. I do want to point out that the reconstruction of the fire damaged shops on Middlefield is not being held up in any way at all by the city. That's strictly in the hands of the owner of the building at this point. And then we're also going to look later in the year at overall branding of the city as opposed to just the stores, to just have people know what's going on here if they don't already, and have just bring more visitors here to eat and shop and go to our events. We're hoping that we could also get some visibility for continuing with startups and things like that. And I want to do a separate side just on this because you can help every day. From cars to a book, just buy in Palo Alto. It's not that inconvenient to get on your bike and ride to Books Inc. as opposed to click and get it from Amazon. So we just need to think about that. We're losing all those sales taxes for one thing, but we might lose the retailers if we don't support them. So let's get on board with that. Okay, with that sort of executive summary, now we want to show you some key projects in process for 2025. So there's a lot of them, and we're going to do a video here, so have a look. A lot going on. A lot going on managed by the city. But that's not all, because those are just the big things. I really wanted to take a look at the things that are happening beyond the big visibility project, because every day the city is executing on essential services for all of us. They don't make the headlines, but some of them should. So in this next video, we're trying to make some headlines. Thank you, city staff, from Ed Chicada on down, for all of that effort. So that's some of almost all the stuff we're doing. No, there's probably 3 times as long we could put up there. That's a lot of great numbers. I just want to take a few moments to talk about a few things about what I think our approach should be this year to some of the situations we're facing. When I say we, I mean our council. We're going to lead from our community values, and that includes creating a healthy, safe, welcoming community with acceptance of all people, all opinions, all religions. Stop. That's it. Anything outside of that with intolerance is not something that we support. And in some cases, it's not something that we can control, given First Amendment rights. We're striving to get an increase in the diversity of our residents and of our city workforce. And last night, council approved a resolution 7-0 that the vice mayor spoke about that provides a process to quickly push back against federal administration and legislative decisions that are contrary to our values and our interests. And that resolution was widely supported by our citizens. Budgeting. This is, as President Biden reminded us, an indicator of our values. We will be planning our annual spending cautiously with the best data we have and be ready to pivot if course changes are necessary due to revenue shortfalls, such as the auto sales tax that I mentioned, or abrupt actions of the federal government or anything else. Can council do all of the things that residents and we want to do? Nope. For example, we've invested wisely in public safety, as we've covered before. So those dollars are now encumbered as fixed costs in the budget. That's a good thing. But they're just not available to do anything else. So we're going to have to prioritize very carefully this year what we choose to do. In the meantime, I really want you to all hear that we're in a very strong financial position as an organization. Our cash balance is strong. Our reserves are strong. Our access to capital markets is very significant if we need that. And we have an extraordinarily strong, in my view, finance staff. So I'm very comfortable with how our city is being managed financially, and with the assets that we have and how they're invested and controlled. And the third thing I always mention is communications. I've spoken briefly about this before. City tries really hard to communicate with our citizens, and most often it works. Occasionally it doesn't. So we want to try to increase our outreach to residences and businesses and the press so that all parties just understand better what's going on. So among other initiatives that we want to do as a city and as a council, I launched a series of monthly press and community briefing sessions, which I have and will host, but include various city staff depending on the sort of topic of the month. And the goal there is just to allow more frequent communication, but also direct dialogue with the mayor and city staff. This process is just not allowed at council meetings. So it's just another opportunity. So I urge you to participate. So are you getting hungry yet? We're almost there. I want to conclude my address tonight by saying that, I really feel that our city is in good shape. We've made real progress on our critical priority areas over the last couple of years, and you see what we're also doing on a day-to-day basis. That said, we have some major and expensive challenges ahead. Grid modernization, affordable housing, infrastructure, funding, daily uncertainty from Washington, D.C. And we have some choices to make in our budgeting that aren't going to be easy. But I assure you that as the year progresses, your council is going to be fiscally responsible. We'll lead from our values and aspirations and endeavor to innovate again and again for you. Our citizens, in my view, have a very committed city staff and council who work diligently for you every day. This particular set of council members has their hearts and their heads all in on the issues. In spite of expected differences in debates, which I think is a very good thing, this council is also united in finding thoughtful and strategic solutions. In fact, if you're keeping score at home, over the last 10 weeks, we've been literally united with quite a few 7-0 votes. It's a great group. Love working with you. Don't rest. We got a lot to get done. Like Rivian's EV, we as council, in this council, will never conclude that the state of the city is good, so that's good enough. That's not our Palo Alto heritage. It's not what our citizens want. It's not what we want. We're always going to look for ways to continue to innovate and be a better city as we continue to grow as a community. So with citizenry support, I'm really confident that we'll perform on our mission for you in 2025. So thanks very much. Food is ready.